Welcome to another episode of Social Media Conspiracy Theories. I'm your host, The Wizard, and on today's show, we're going to explore whether or not social media is turning us into a bunch of narcissists. On this episode, we're going to overhear a conversation between Antonia, the anonymous host. I guess, well, she's not really anonymous if I know her name, but anyway, between Antonia and Graham, world-renowned social media expert, discussing the topic of whether or not social media is turning everybody into narcissists. So without further delay, here we go. Listen into this brief excerpt of the conversation, and on the other side, we will discuss it further.
So, Graham, my question for you is social media making us more into narcissists?
Well, that is a very interesting question, Antonia, and to answer it, I think you have to break it down into different areas. Number one, I think social media is an interesting tool that can be used to bring people together, but then also you have to look at the individual situations of each person. Some people might not understand how it can be used to share things about their lives without getting too personal. A lot of people might use it as a tool to embellish their own personal circumstances in order to elevate their status in the world, which a lot of narcissists would do. And social media in and of itself is a form of acceptable exhibitionism, whereas a lot of these things used to be considered private and shared intimately with close friends. Now we're sharing them over networks of tens, hundreds, even thousands of people. Whether or not any of them are actually true or not is debatable, but to ask the question of whether it's turning people into narcissists, I would have to concur that it would be, yes. On some level, anyway, for the most part.
Do you think it's because, is this because people are thinking more about themselves on a daily basis than, let's say, if we weren't to have social media? Do you think that's somewhat, or is thinking of ourselves in kind of a self-reflective manner, is that natural human behavior?
I don't think social media has done anything new. I think it's just created a medium for people that, I think most people are lonely and to some degree. Mm-hmm. And I think that social media is a tool, just like, there's a fork, there's a knife, and there's a spoon, and each one serves a certain need as it's required. Social media is something that has been created to allow people to address a need in themselves that I think is part of the human zeitgeist, the journey that everybody's on. And so I think it's not really creating anything new. I think it's just amplifying something that already exists. And in that way, it's a way of people seeking affirmation, seeking a way to be affirmed in who they are, to elevate their sense of self, and to create a sense of belonging with a group of friends that maybe didn't exist before due to distance, due to inability to call long distance, let's say, or have an ability to communicate as easily as social media makes it for people to do. And we're at 3:15 now.
Okay, great.
Perfect. And that concludes our episode of Does Social Media Make You a Narcissist?
That was a conversation between Graham and Antonia discussing whether or not social media turns us into narcissists. It was interesting how Graham pointed out that he believed social media was really just a tool to overcome people's loneliness by allowing them to share their lives, where some people get a little carried away with that sharing and make it part of their lives in total. But anyway, that concludes today's episode of Social Media Conspiracy Theories. I'm the Wizard, and I hope you've enjoyed this in-depth, well, maybe not so in-depth, maybe just sort of quasi-depth interview that we've listened to, and hopefully this will make your day so much more enlightened. That's all for today, for this episode. Again, I am the Wizard, and I have spoken.